welcome to my tutorials on simulating tree effects with TP6. So this has been done in collaboration with Cebus and Knowledge, and that is where um, we'll have our next webinar on the tree effects, which is knowledge.com. They will host the webinar, which is going to be Friday, May 12th, 9 a.m. Pacific time. So from the last webinar, I re-recorded every single step that I went through as videos, so you guys can download it and watch it in steps. And basically, the first tutorial is going to be about this tree, and we're going to have a look at how we do the tree simulation only on the branches and the trunk. We're not covering the small branches and the leaves. So this is the end result of our rig. And you can see how we have a spline system going through all the branches and bones along the splines. And then we also measured the distance of how much each bone moved, so we can apply a force that pulls it back based on distance and based on the strength of the branch. As you can tell, there's different sizes of the bones, which basically, we can all adjust based on different measures on the mesh. And then the system can break off branches, it can collide with the environment, and so on. So yeah, here we have the tree rendered. As you can tell, every single leaf is moving independently. So this gives it a very realistic feel. And then we have here another group of trees, same tree model, just a different scenario. And here again, everything's interacting. All right, and then lastly, we look at how to collect our settings into one dynamic set, so we have it all globally, and then we can just plug in any tree that follows the requirements of the simulation. Like there's just 2 requirements it needs to have, and basically then we can just tweak some numbers and run the simulation, and it pretty much works out of the box. Okay, so before we start, why trees? Why do we want to simulate trees and not explosions or destructions? I mean, we want to do those as well, but I wanted to do a tutorial that you can't do just, by plugging in some solvers and there you go, it just makes collisions or, simulates, I don't know, soft bodies. I wanted to do something where actually one has to think of how he gets from A to B to C to your final solution of being able to simulate quite a complex model. So basically with this, I want to show you how you can use thinking particles, different operators and nodes, and connect them up to get different kind of little microsystems basically in the whole setup, and then together they work together to build a working tree system. And basically it's just so you guys will see how TP works. You're gonna get a good feeling about how to use thinking particles in many different areas, and yeah, that was basically the idea. And then trees is actually something pretty common to simulate in effects. It doesn't stand out that much as buildings collapsing and I don't know, bridges breaking or big explosions or tidal waves, but it's quite a lot. I mean, it's common to do that, and if you think about it, if you ever have a tornado, there's probably going to be a tree somewhere around that is being that is blowing in the wind. And if you have, I don't know, a movie like Skull Island, if you have a jungle with giant creatures in it, there's probably going to be some tree simulations. or well, you know, I don't want to spoil newer movies, but yeah, there's like in the Man of Steel, Man of Steel, Superman. There's a tornado with a tree next to it. Um, in Godzilla, we had a tidal wave going through the streets, and you know, there's also trees in the streets, so the wave was interacting with the trees, um, and so on. So it definitely, you know, is something that is useful. All right, so let's have a look at our scene where we start. And by the way, just before we start, if you have any questions on the system after watching all these tutorials, if you have comments or criticism or anything, or you have your own tree system that you want to share, or you know, a few friends of mine and I, we launched a forum just focusing on effects. So the forum's called effectivetds.com/forum, and yeah, we have a generic section, we have a Max section where we have all the effects, you know, all the tools that you can use for effects in Max, and then we have Houdini, of course. We do touch a little bit of RealFlow, and we're all excited about new Bifrost releases. I will add Maya later. So this forum is brand new. It's been there for a week now, so it's still pretty empty. So, but yeah, everybody's welcome, and we just want to focus on effects and make a little effects community where we can all share our knowledge and you know, inspire each other with, you know, different methods and different reference or ideas or whatever. So please come join. And be part of effects, or a little effects community. And yeah, as I said before, if you have your own system, I'd be really excited to see it, and we can compare and figure out, you know, what works really well in one and what works better in the other one, and then maybe we can combine them and make a really like outstanding tree system, or any system, basically. So yeah, it'd be great if you join. All right, so let's look at our scene. So the scene consists, I just put an empty TP in there. It's almost empty. So I prepared a few dynamic sets here, just, you know, to have a faster start, and a few groups. And basically, when I work in TP, I usually have those two groups all the time. So SC3 is just for shape collision and any simulations. I mean, here I have all my simulation groups. If I have secondaries, I would have a second one. So basically I have simulation groups. Then in this case, I have an import group where I import the tree, and then I separate it into different parts of the tree. And then I have a helpers kind of group tree where I have all my helper groups. And these are basically containers that just hold information. And I can, you know, attach them or measure distances, or you know, here's one for exporting, delete visualization group just for visualizing stuff. So it's basically just helpers that help me get to where I want to go with TP, and you know, yeah. And then in the scene we do have our tree. So the tree is one object, but it was modeled by splines, so it is not all welded. So it was, you know, it's just different objects have been put together and then collapsed. So you can select every single element. This is very important. I mean, if you don't have that, it's going to get really difficult. And then the first requirement is that you have different materials IDs or material assignments. So that way you can split off the leaves from the branches. And we can do this manually in Max, but we can also just do it procedurally inside thinking particles. And that's what I'm going to do. So basically all you got to do is just import the whole object into TP, and then TP does the rest for you. And then the second part is, because it's modeled by splines, there's a spline UV on it, meaning it starts at 0, goes all the way to 1 at the tip, and that is basically on the Y value of the UV. And then you have an X value, X component of the UV that goes 0, and then goes around, and then comes back to 1 where it started. And I mean, these are 0 to 1 UVs. Some trees do have like world space length units, so you would have like something like, you know, 0 to, I don't know, 3.5, and then 0 to 15, or -1 to 15, or whatever range you want to have. Doesn't really matter. We can always in TP renormalize that back to 0 to 1. And the only thing that matters is that it starts on one side, goes around, starts at the bottom, goes to the tip in Y. So that's the only two things that it has to have. Okay, so I also have a proxy tree. This is just, you know, for faster feedback while working with thinking particles. So when you set up your bones, you know, you get immediate feedback for how big they are, how many you have per branch, if the leaves are connected properly, and so on. And then while setting up the system for all the logic, I have a concept tree. And that's basically a really simple version of the tree that just has the conceptual kind of, you know, attributes of it. And basically we have the branches, different sizes, and a few leaves. And it's really easy, like if you have a 2D thing like this, you can, you know, build your system and you immediately see what's working and what is not. And it's very easy to, you know, imagine, oh, okay, this guy needs to go to this guy, needs to go to this guy, needs to go to this guy. If you have a 3D kind of mess like this, it's really hard to figure stuff out. So that's why the concept tree. And that's just really for fast setup. Okay, so I hope you guys are excited for this. It's going to be a long series of tutorials, but I think it's pretty cool to see how you can get complex system with simple little steps in TP6. All right, see you in the next video where we start the whole thing. Thank you.